Hello everyone. In this series of videos, we are going to explore object-oriented programming in Python. We're going to learn about classes, inheritance, class methods, static methods, and a bit of polymorphism. So Python is an object-oriented programming language, and in object-oriented programming languages, we tend to focus on objects. An object by definition is a collection of methods and variables, whereas a class is a blueprint for this object. A good example to illustrate this will be when you're building a house. When you're building a house, engineers will come to you with a blueprint. The blueprint will contain the details of the floor plan, the window sizes, and the number of bathrooms, etc. In this case, the blueprint is the class that describes the objects, which are the floor plan, the size of the windows, the size of the house, etc. Another good example to illustrate this, which will use this analogy to build our classes from, will be the game of chess. Every game of chess has two players. Every player has a rating, and every player is required to select the color of their pieces. This can be either white or black. So we can think of a class in this scenario as the overall game of chess with the rules and whatnot, whereas the players, their ratings and their pieces and their color pieces, those will be the objects. So to get started, to create this class, you just need to use the keyword class. So class chess. Yeah, we've created a class that basically does nothing, and from this class we can start to build various objects and methods. So we can start by initiating our first object. So our object 1 will be chess. We can also have a second object, so object 2. So we have object 1, object 2, and we can then we can manually set the attributes for this object. Object 1 dot player name can give the first player name as Bob. We can give our object a rating, our player a rating. So object 1 rating. Can say Bob has a rating of 1500. Bob is a good player, and it also happens that Bob prefers to play with the white pieces. So object 1 color pieces, color piece is white. That's it. We can access these objects using as simply as we can print them and see what it does. So object 1 dot player name. You can also print the rating, and you can also print the color piece. So we can see we have initiated our object. We've set the attribute player name, the attribute rating, and the attribute color piece. And when you print them, you'll get this. So by setting these attributes manually using this approach, we don't really realize the full benefits of Python classes. Python provides a special method that we can use to set these attributes automatically when we instantiate objects of our class. This method is known as init. You can define it in your class as init. It takes the instance of the class as the first parameter, so self. So if you're coming from another programming language, this init method is known as constructors. In Python, we just call it init. So this is usually the first method that will get called whenever an object of this class is created. So in this method, this init method, we can define our attributes. So the first attribute we want to pass is the player name. We also want the rating and the player's color piece. Then we can initiate it this way. So self.playerName is just player name. Self.rating is just rating. And self.color piece just color piece. One thing I have to mention is that these names don't have to match these names at the parameter level. This could be anything. This could be, let's say, player name 1, rating 1, rating color piece 2, etc. But I prefer to keep them with the same name just for consistency. So whenever we create an object of chess, this init method will automatically set the attributes of the chess class. And we can see that by doing this. So in our object 1, in our chess class, we can just pass our player name. So our player name was Bob. Bob had a rating of 1500. And Bob prefers to play with white pieces. Our object 2, we can create another player. We can give them the name of Mary. Mary has a rating of 400. Mary is not a really good chess player. And Mary prefers to play with black pieces. So we can run this, create our objects. So before I run this cell, I have to run this cell first. So I'm going to run that, define our chess class, and define our init method that will automatically set our attributes. Then instantiate our object with the player name, the rating, and the color piece. And we can run this cell now. So we have our object 1 and our object 2 successfully initiated. So after we've created our object and instantiated them, we can access our objects as such. So object 1, we can get the player name, and we can also get the object name of our second object. So object 2 dot player name. So we have Bob Mary over there. We can also try and access the player's rating. So object 1 dot rating, object 2 dot rating, and there we have it. So the next thing I want us to look at next is class methods. Class methods are simply functions that belong to a class. Let's say we needed a way to get the details of every player. We can do this by creating a class method inside our chess class. This goes as follows. We just create a function, def, let's call it player details. Remember, it takes self as the first parameter, and this should return the player name, their rating, and the color piece. So we are going to print, so we're going to print the player name. The player name is player name self dot player name. We're also going to get the rating. The rating will be self dot rating, and we can also get the color piece. So the color piece, the self dot color piece. This is rating. So I'm just going to execute this cell to save our function. We have our objects. Execute that cell. I'm going to delete this one. So let's test the new class method. So we've instantiated our objects. So how can we get the player details of object 1? That is as simple as object 1 dot player details. And yeah, we get the player name. Player name is Bob, rating is 1500, color is white. I'm going to delete this cell. We can also try to get the player details of a second object. Player details. The player name is Mary, rating 400, color piece is black. So far we've covered how you can create classes, how you can create constructor functions, and how you can define class methods. You've also seen how you can instantiate your objects and how you can call your class methods. So in the next video, we are going to look at class variables and know the difference between the class variables and regular variables. See you in the next video.